Hello and a warm welcome to a brand new episode of South Central. My name is Jude Sanath and this is the show that brings you all the news and updates from the 5 southern states. Here, without further ado, let's take a quick look at the headlines we're tracking at this hour. Karnataka Revenue Department orders a probe into Infosys' land sale to Puravankara in Anekal near Bengaluru as 5 government officials are suspended over the alleged illegal registration of the 53-acre land parcel. The Telangana government plans to raise 10,000 crore rupees through open market borrowings as part of a debt restructuring exercise. The government says it wants to reduce the interest burden on the state's exchequer. India's tyre and rubber industry wants a corrected inverted duty structure and support for MSMEs and R&D initiatives from the upcoming union budget. That's the word coming in from Chennai-based Emerald Tyres in this ET Now exclusive. The Madras High Court upholds its ruling in the Thiruparakundram lamp lighting case, allowing members of the Hindu community to light the customary lamp atop a nearby hill. The court calls the DMK-led government's apprehensions over law and order an imaginary ghost. And Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah becomes the state's longest-serving head of government. South Central looks back at his political journey. A top story first. 5 government officials at Karnataka's sub-registrar have been suspended over the recent controversy surrounding Infosys' land sale to Puravankara. Now, the sale in question involves 53.5 acres of land in the Anekal taluk near Bengaluru that Infosys sold to Puravankara for a sum of 250 crore rupees. A probe has now been ordered into the sale of land as allegations have been levelled against these government officials involved in the sale registration of engaging in misuse of court-ordered provisions. The Karnataka Revenue Minister Krishna Baira Gowda said that the Bengaluru Deputy Commissioner has been directed to investigate these complaints related to the sale of the land bank in question. Now, if you recall, Infosys' land sale has been under the scanner ever since questions arose over whether or not the company procured the land bank with the help of government concessions. The company has since denied the claim while maintaining that the land was in fact bought at market rates. Moving on to news from Telangana now, the state is expected to raise over 10,600 crore rupees through open market borrowings as part of a major debt restructuring exercise. The borrowing is expected to take place over the last quarter of FY26 and is being done with the aim of reducing the long-term interest burden on the state exchequer. Reports have said that the proposed borrowings will be used for loan swapping, a process that lets high-interest short-term loans get repaid and replaced with low-interest loans across a much longer tenure. Now, the Telangana government has maintained that the state's debt burden is on account of borrowings made by the previous BRS regime. The state, remember, has already mobilized just over 66,000 crore rupees through RBI bond auctions during the first 3 quarters of the ongoing fiscal. In what is being seen as a legal victory for members of the Hindu faith, the Madurai bench of the Madras High Court has upheld its order permitting members of the community to light their traditional lamp atop the Thiruparakundram hill nearby. Controversy over the practice first arose when the Tamil Nadu government objected to the act of lighting the lamp on the nearby hill, claiming it could lead to a law and order situation on account of a dargah in the vicinity. Now, this despite the fact that the court actually permitted the continuation of the practice. However, The Madurai bench of the Madras High Court has now upheld its earlier order, also adding that the Tamil Nadu government's apprehensions over law and order was a quote-unquote imaginary ghost. In fact, my colleague Dharani sent us this report. Moving on now, it's been a political journey like no other for Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, who now has completed a term as becoming the longest-serving Chief Minister of Karnataka itself. In fact, Siddaramaiah has taken or has made this record owing to 2 terms as Chief Minister itself, which has in fact underlined his heritage and his journey as a political figure like no other in the state. In fact, Siddaramaiah himself has brought up this landmark after, a long-standing tussle, so to speak, within the government itself, etching his name in the state's political history by becoming its longest-serving chief minister, overtaking the record held by Devaraj Urs through a cumulative tenure spanning 2 terms. Now, Siddaramaiah, remember, first assumed office in 2013. He then completed a 5-year term, a rarity in Karnataka's fractured mandate era, returning to power in May 2023, cementing his position as one of the most enduring mass leaders the state has seen. A former deputy chief minister and long-standing finance minister, Siddaramaiah is also credited with shaping Karnataka's contemporary welfare architecture from his early advocacy of Ahinda politics, minorities, backward classes and Dalits, to the rollout of expansive social schemes like the Anna Bhagya, Shira Bhagya, Indira Canteen, the Gruha Lakshmi and Shakti. Known for presenting record numbers of state budgets and for positioning social justice at the core of governance, his roots from grassroots political circles to the top post reflects both political resilience and electoral adaptability in what is no doubt one of the most politically competitive states, especially given the fact that Karnataka has in fact seen a political tussle in recent times between Siddaramaiah himself and no less his very own deputy in D.K. Shivkumar. In fact, it's his deputy D.K. Shivkumar who also led the congratulations to Siddaramaiah himself, wishing his chief minister a long journey and congratulating him on in fact breaking that record and becoming the longest serving chief minister in the state of Karnataka. It's an all-out war in Kerala, meanwhile, between the ruling left and the Congress, especially concerning an alleged case or charges against the leader of opposition. In Kerala, in fact, the State Vigilance and Anti-Corruption Bureau has recommended a CBI inquiry against leader of the opposition, V.D. Satheesan, for alleged violations of the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act in connection with the Punarjani Rehabilitation Initiative launched after the 2018 floods. Now, according to the vigilance report submitted to Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, funds totaling to around £22,500, that's roughly 20 lakh rupees, were raised in the United Kingdom and routed through UK-based NGOs into a Kerala charity account. The Bureau says the collection and routing of foreign contributions by a sitting legislator may be contravenous to FCRA norms and has now asked for the matter to be investigated by the CBI. Moving on, Andhra's Konaseema district remains on high alert after a gas leak caused panic earlier this week. The district went into high alert after residents reported a strong odor in multiple villages located close to ONGC's onshore gas installations. District authorities, fire and disaster response teams rushed to the area while ONGC itself activated its emergency safety protocols and began technical inspections to identify the source of the leak. Officials say no casualties or serious health issues have been reported so far. The situation here is under control and continuous air monitoring is being carried out as a precaution to ensure there is no further risk to residents. In fact, my colleague Saumit now joins us with more details from the gas leak itself.
Well, at the Irusumanda village in the Konasima district in the Rajol constituency of Andhra Pradesh, where actually the blowout took place at the Mori 5 field, which is operational since year 1993, and ONGC used to control it. And from year 2023, it has given sublease to the Deep Industries Private Limited, and they were conducting the drills there, they were conducting the operations there since 2023, and the operations almost came to the final stage, and they were almost ready to extract the natural gas from that Mori 5 field, which is located in the Irusumanda village, on the border of Irusumanda village and Lakkavaram village of the Konasima district in the Rajul constituency. So there yesterday, all of a sudden, gas was seen gushing out from that Mori 5 field, and it spread to entire that village, and also nearly, the foggy-like situation was seen in the entire village, and immediately from the three villages, the nearby three villages, the evacuation process took place, and two ministers, including Achenaidu and also Chief Minister himself, directly spoke to the officials, and even ministers are directly in touch with the officials, collector, SP, ONGC officials, fire department officials. They are conducting, measures there on the spot. And initially, ONGC and fire department officials, feared to reach that spot because it was shooting up. The flames were shooting up nearly 100 feet high. So later today, after 15 hours, the flames were seen slightly decreased, slightly coming down, and now ONGC officials are conducting taken extensive measures to cool down that site, and also pumping in water from the nearby wells to that spot. So ONGC officials to submit a detailed report on what measures should be taken in the coming hours, and also how much time it will take to control the fire there on the spot. And it is expected that 40,000 cubic meters of the gas is present in that well, and it is just expectation. But in the detailed report, ONGC officials will be, informing the government how much gas is left in that well, and how much more time will it take to control the fire there, and what exact measures should be taken in the coming hours. And as of now, evacuation process in the in these villages have already been completed. They have been shifted to the safe locations. At the same time, they also the officials also informed the local villagers in the nearby places that they shouldn't be using electricity at any cost, and also they shouldn't be lighting up the gas for the cooking purposes at their residences. So as of now, ONGC officials are trying to control the fire, and they'll also be submitting a detailed report shortly.
Well, on to an ET Now exclusive next. India's tyre and rubber industry has its budget wish list ready for the upcoming union budget. The key recommendations of the industry include a series of measures to boost domestic natural rubber production, a corrected inverted duty structure, measures to support MSMEs, and promote R&D activity. In fact, in the conversation from earlier today as part of our ongoing series, Budget Yatra 2026, Chennai-based Emerald Tyres Managing Director V.T. Chandrasekhar told me that despite growing, the rubber industry in particular will require a policy push in order to sustain this growth trajectory. Here's a slice from that conversation.
The industry has moved quite a bit in terms of manufacturing. So a lot of MSMEs are still dependent on labor. There's a lot of shortage of people. Even if you have labor, they are looking at better facilities for working. So those are areas where R&D is happening, and there is a lot of technology available. So any incentives towards an R&D, towards automation, these are areas where the rubber industry has to work. And if there's a government support to this, we will be able to we are looking at scaling up production. So in scaling up, wherever there is automation needed, those are the areas where we need support from the government.
And when you talk about scaling up itself, what do you think is the specific incentive that you feel is the need of the hour? I know for a fact that scale up, yes, it is important to advance employment as well, given how labor intensive the industry is. But are you looking at a capital allocation? Are you looking at a subsidy? Are you looking at a grant? Are you looking at working capital being smoothened out for the industry itself? What are the specifics on your wish list?
So subsidy is something for the machineries, import of machineries. The rubber machineries as such, the industry is quite weak. So we are looking at subsidies for import of machinery. We are looking at for the natural rubber, if there is a sinking fund which is created, which allows the rubber growers to tap into. We are looking at 1,000 crore allocation from the government, a sinking fund for the rubber growers, so that it helps them improve their productivity, it helps them improve their acreage. So that is something which the rubber growers will have the incentive to produce more, and from the industry we will get raw materials. It helps India become self-reliant. So this is how we are looking at the government to help us tide over the shortage of raw material.
In fact, a raw material shortage has been a very important talking point for a long time now, to the point where now you're actually seeing an increase in the cost base insofar as production itself is concerned. How has that impacted business in recent times?
No, absolutely. There's a lot of impact. On one side you have duties for raw materials coming in, especially natural rubber. On the other side, you have finished products coming from ASEAN countries. So that's a dampener for the industry. You don't have raw materials. There's already a shortage of close to about 500,000 tons of rubber, and that is not being allowed to be imported. On the other side, you have finished goods which are being imported. So that creates an imbalance, and it puts pressure on the local manufacturers to compete. And if you're talking about automotive industry, the margins are already very thin, and if you get affected by such duty structure, then the industry suffers.
Well, V.D. Chandrasekhar telling me there how the inverted duty structure will be quite critical really to the future of the tire and the rubber business, especially given the fact that the lingering effects of President Donald Trump's tariffs continue to weigh heavily on the sector, even as export orders have either dried up completely or have been indefinitely postponed. So lots to look forward to there from the tire and rubber industry, even as the union budget is merely a few weeks away. Well, moving on, but sticking with Chennai, at the 14th edition of the Freshworks Chennai Marathon earlier this week, 28,000 runners delivered standout performances across the 42-kilometer course through the city itself. Not surprisingly, Ethiopian athletes dominated the elite races, with Segae Mola clinching the men's full marathon title and Senait Heffelgen Lecharge winning the women's race. The marathon, remember, like we just mentioned, drew over 28,000 runners from across India and overseas, and has by now become a tradition of sorts on Chennai's sporting calendar. Staying with Chennai, the city and parts of coastal Tamil Nadu are bracing for a fresh spell of wet weather on January 9th and 10th, according to the India Meteorological Department. A low-pressure area over the Bay of Bengal is forecast to strengthen and draw moisture into the region, raising the likelihood of light to moderate showers and cloudy skies over the city. Heavier rain, remember, is possible in districts like the Delta region and the northern coastal districts, including regions like Mailadurai, Thiruvarur, Nagapattinam, Tanjavur and surrounding areas. Now, rainfall for these parts is a rarity in the month of January, which is why this forecast is all the more significant. In recent times, early morning mist and shallow fog has reduced visibility, even as residents, the IMD says, are advised to stay updated with official weather bulletins even as the system evolves. Well, more news from Chennai, and staying with the ecological framework of the city, its iconic Marina Beach has kicked off the olive ridley turtle nesting season, with the first set of turtle eggs of 2026 spotted on the sand from a few days ago. In fact, these delicate tracks and the clutch of eggs captured and shared by officials on social media have signaled the start of nature's annual cycle, as the endangered and vulnerable olive ridley turtle makes its way to the very shores where they were born to lay their eggs, which will in fact in turn give rise to the next generation. Wildlife observers and locals have welcomed the moment, even as conservationists continue to urge people to keep beaches clean and undisturbed to protect this critical nesting activity. Remember, olive ridley turtles typically migrate over long distances and use instinctive navigation to find their natal beaches or the beaches of their birth, making this sighting at the Marina Beach both rare given the circumstances of the animal's endangerment, but equally significant given the marine biodiversity along India's coastline. Well, moving on now to Kerala at the Kochiri Muziris Binale, the city's iconic art festival. A major art venue was temporarily shut after protests erupted over a painting that reimagined Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper, prompting objections from Catholic and other Christian groups who said it hurt religious sentiments. Now, the artwork by Tom Vattakuri, displayed as part of the Edam exhibition, was criticized as a distorted representation of what is widely recognized and acknowledged as a sacred Christian scene, which in turn led to petitions and heated debate. Now, following talks with local authorities and the artist himself, the piece was withdrawn from display out of respect for public sentiment. The venue has since reopened, and organizers say they remain committed to artistic freedom, even as they seek to balance it with community concerns. Well, on that note, it's a Moving on, Union Home Minister Amit Shah has joined the vibrant Pongal celebrations in Tiruchirappalli in Tamil Nadu. He took to his X account and stated, "This is a sacred festival that revives our deep bond with nature and communities through gratitude and harmony." Remember, it's election season next year, and Pongal is in fact one of the most crucial festivals in Tamil Nadu that precedes the festivities of the electoral type, and political class has really descended on the state to take part in these festivities, with the Home Minister wishing inhabitants of Tamil Nadu a very happy Pongal, even as he partakes in the festivities itself at his recent visit to Tiruchirappalli. Well, on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of South Central. Thanks so much for watching and keeping pace with all the headlines from across the 5 southern states, even as I continue to bring you news and updates from market action, boardroom action, industry and beyond every weekday at 5:30 p.m. only on ET Now. So on that note, thanks so much for watching. We'll be back with more news, market updates and business action only here on South Central. Keep watching ET Now for more news and updates. But for the moment, it's goodbye from us.